I think we should get straight to it with the next conversation. Governor Kemp, Republican from Georgia. Governor, good afternoon. It's good to see you.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic to have you with us. I'm going to go with the line from the former President Donald Trump. It's time for the Republican Party to unify, to come together. Are you ready to unify, to come together?
Well, I don't think we're seeing that from the other candidates right now. I mean, look, that was a strong win in Iowa, no doubt, but some really bad weather, very low turnout. So we'll see what happens here in the next week.
When you look at the election, what are you looking to understand whether Trump 2.0 is going to be the same as Trump 1.0? Is this going to be a different type of presidency from everything that you've gathered?
Well, look, I don't know. You probably have to ask him about that. I've said for a long time now, we need to be forward-thinking. We need to tell people, what we stand for, what we're going to do. We don't need to be looking in the rearview mirror and relitigating the 2020 election and really, lay out for the American people what it is we're going to do for them to help fight through 40-year high Joe Biden inflation, disaster at the border, the weakness that we're seeing in the world, and a lot of other things. And that's what I've been urging the candidates to do, and that would go for former President Trump as well.
But former President Trump wants to relitigate 2020. He was just talking about it last night. He goes back to your state of Georgia, as you know. He wants Fani Willis, the district attorney, to be removed. There's lots of questions about potentially a relationship she had with the prosecutor. How are you going to weigh in on that?
Well, I didn't say always listen to what I said. I was just saying what my thoughts were, and that's for every candidate to decide. But look, there's some, months ago I was warning people there wasn't evidence to go after Fani Willis, but now there's some troubling things that have been, accusations that have been made, and I think the judge will get to the bottom of that. That's playing out right now. We've got a legislation we passed for district attorney oversight that ended up in the courts, and so we're going to have to re-legislate that this year, which we're in the process of doing right now in our legislative session. But there's ways to address that, and we need to let the legal process play out.
But do you think Willis should be removed?
Well, I wouldn't be able to speak to that because I haven't seen the evidence. But I think at the very least, if the accusations are true, it is very troubling. And I feel certain that the judge will rule in the right way to make sure that, President Trump and anybody else is being treated fairly.
So let's go back to what the timeline is going to look like for the political space in the United States. You say a lot of those candidates are not ready to coalesce just yet around the former president. What I'm hearing is everyone's waiting for New Hampshire. Let's give Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley some space. But if Trump wins New Hampshire, is that a time when you're going to say, okay, I'm ready to endorse him?
Well, I think it depends on kind of what happens, how big a win it is. If that happens, if somebody else wins, what happens? I mean, I wouldn't want to speculate on that. I know I'm staying focused on the great state of Georgia. I mean, every single one of our legislators is going to be on the ticket with whoever our nominee is, and so we're doing things right now to make sure that we hold our majorities and keep our state moving in the right direction, like cutting taxes and, we've sent $5 billion back to hardworking Georgians to help them fight through this bad policies in Washington, D.C. and 40-year high inflation. And you look at Georgia right now, we've got a $16 billion surplus. We're working on cutting our state income tax. You look at California, they got a 35 or a 45 or a $55 billion deficit, depending on who you believe, and they're raising taxes. And so I think it shows really what's going on in the states, and that's what I'm focused on to help our legislators and help us just let people in Georgia and around the country see what the Georgia way is and why we've been productive, why our state's doing great economically.
Governor, that's what we want to talk about. I think what's amazing to us over the last couple of days in Davos, Switzerland, people want to ask about who's next in the White House. What are they going to do? When you talk to American businesses, we had Mike Wirth of Chevron sitting in your chair just yesterday. He's talking about policy at the state level in California and the ease or difficulty of doing business, difficulty in California. How do you want to position Georgia versus, say, Texas, Florida? Do you think you are the next big state to attract that kind of talent in the same way they have done?
Well, we have been doing that, and we're competing with Texas and Florida and Tennessee and South Carolina and a lot of other great southern states. I mean, first time ever you got GDP in the South when you include Texas outpacing the Northeast. I mean, it's incredible to think about that. So you've got a lot of people that are fleeing places like California, New York, and Chicago, coming to right-to-work states like Georgia, that have good business-friendly environments that are cutting taxes, states like Georgia that has a lot of clean energy. I mean, we have 2 new nuclear reactors we're building. One of them's online, Vogtle 3. Vogtle 4 will be soon. We're doing as much solar, for our size of state as anybody in the country. And so that's why you're seeing major corporations from around the country and around the world that want to have a presence. And we've been visiting with a lot of those here in Davos, but, great partners like Hyundai and others.
How much did the Inflation Reduction Act of Joe Biden actually help your state? Quite a bit.
Well, it's really kind of hurt us in a lot of different ways, believe it or not. When you think about this, we had the Hyundai announcement, we had Rivian, we had the SK battery plant, all before the IRA ever passed. I sent a letter to our 2 U.S. senators explaining to them Washington, D.C. right now is picking winners and losers with the IRA. They're helping the union-backed automobile producers, and they're hurting the folks that we have coming to Georgia. My worry is that, them manipulating the market, forcing the market on people is actually going to hurt more than it's helping. But look, there's a lot of money out there. A lot of these corporations now that's passed are taking advantage of it. And so we're just making sure that people know that Georgia's a place to be if they are going to do something like that. And that's what we've seen. I mean, we've seen like 40 different projects come since we did the Hyundai announcement.
Yeah, you're becoming almost this bastion of green energy. How is you as a Republican governor talking about climate change? Because that's part of this electrification of the American grid.
Well, it's because we're letting the market work in Georgia, and people that wanted to build electric vehicles came to us and said, hey, we're looking to build a plant. What can you guys offer in the state of Georgia? And we told them we can offer, cheap, reliable power. A lot of it that's green. We got a great workforce. We had one of the best sites in the country at the Meta plant that Hyundai chose, and also the East Atlanta mega site that Rivian chose. We've got Kia that's expanding an EV line. So it was not the government trying to force them to do something like they're doing in states like California. It's basically saying, what does your company want? What do you need? And how can we help you achieve that goal?
You appeared recently with Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, who I recently interviewed as well, and you sat with him, and everyone on Twitter was saying this should be the ticket. I know you're sitting out 2024. What's your future plans? Is it the Senate? Is it the White House?
Well, my future plans is to make sure that Georgia legislators and the state of Georgia stays Republican in 24. I have told people, like my first point, we gotta tell people what we're for. We cannot get distracted. We need to stay focused on 24. We can worry about 26, 28, whatever down the road after that.
Governor, that was a politician's answer. We'll
That's the truth.
I'm going to offend the rest of the South. Best barbecue in the South, Georgia.
There's no question.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Hate mail begins
Governor,
now.
thank you. Good to see you.